You're listening to the Karmic Mirror podcast, where we explore the wisdom tucked within the layers of the self-help world.
Together, we bridge the gap between esoteric teachings and practical tools for everyday life, with self-love and personal growth at the heart of each conversation.
Whether you're a seasoned seeker or just beginning your path, join us and uncover the magic within and around you. Hello and welcome back to Karmic Mirror podcast. Hi, Allie.
Michelle, welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
So today's episode is a little bit different than our typical conversation in the sense that there is no real outline. We're kind of checking in and coming to the conversation with what's going on. And I thought that astrology would be a natural first place for me to start anyways, simply because there's always something, right? The planets are always in motion. And also there are times when there are maybe more, I don't know, hectic or challenging transits and moments where you see it playing out all around you in the world, but you also can relate in personal ways, very different experiences that also reflect the astrology. And so, some of the things that I was kind of jotting in my notes were one, the lingering eclipse energy. So if you know anything about eclipses, we had a lunar eclipse earlier in the week, and I feel that eclipses are usually more to do with the weeks around them, the lingering or the leading up to them. It's always the shift that occurs after the eclipse. It's usually not the day of. Yeah, sure, maybe the day of. Like for me, I can't sleep because I've got, in this case, it was a lunar eclipse. It was a full moon. So the whole week leading up to it is just this bright moon, and my bedroom is totally lit up. I tend to, like the night of the eclipse, I woke up at 2 a.m. and couldn't go back to sleep for an hour, which is not normal for me. And so it feels like emotions are really charged around this time, and just the ripple effect of it, right? Things feel disruptive. And last week also we had the power go out, which was on the eclipse. So I was, it was the evening and I was out of power for about an hour in the dark. And I just thought, this feels on brand for the moment of, and then I text you the other night when I was like, cool, I have so much shit to do on my laptop, and it totally just like fizzed out on me and stopped charging. And, you know, it was like 6:30 at night. And I was like, I need my laptop. Like I don't have this isn't really an option to not have use of it right now because of things going on in my life and work. And so we were like, where's the closest Apple store? It was an hour away. So we got in the car, drove to the Apple store. And of course, I don't I don't go into the Apple store hardly ever, but I just know that, if you don't have an appointment, God forbid they can help you with anything. They don't know anything when you walk in. And I hate to say this, but like truly, you walk in and you're like, can you help me? And they're like, well, no, because, and there's always an excuse for whatever reason. So then they can't help me. The funny thing is, I plug in my charger there to one of their outlets, and I'm like, and now it's charging, even though we just drove an hour to come here at night. And then, just to be safe, I was like, well, can I just buy a new laptop? Like, I'm looking at this MacBook Air. It's the exact same one that I have. Can I buy this? No, you can't because we're out of stock because there's a new one coming out. What can I do here? Can I do anything here? Or can you tell me where Auntie Anne's Pretzels is? What is it? I don't know.
It's just funny that you're talking about losing power because that has been a topic of conversation. And literally, when I was down in Florida, I stayed with my friend who's from Albany, upstate New York, and we had been talking about it because one of my best friends, Lisa, and I were talking about how both of our moms are texting us about prep for all the storms that have been coming. And at some point, I forgot this upstate New York mentality around around the weather. And so the
Yeah.
conversation is, do you remember any routines? One of the routines that I remember is everyone get your showers in because if we lost power, we didn't we were going to be getting hot water bags. So I'm glad that you only lost it for an hour.
Yeah, on the grand scheme of things, not a big deal, but it did remind me, okay, so a week before the power went out, I had this lingering thought in my mind of, and I'm not a emergency preparedness person. I don't have backstock of anything. I'm like run out of toilet paper, like we gotta go today. But in my mind, the week before, I was like, I don't know, but I think I need water. Like I need to just have water. And I have all of these, I buy the Ronnie Brook milk sometimes, a lot of times actually, and then I reuse the glass jars to make my own cashew milk at home. So I have all these jars and I had this random thought of I should fill these up with my filtered water because I use a reverse osmosis filter. And then I didn't, right? You know how often when your intuition whispers something and it seems so random that you just ignore it sometimes. And then the power goes out and we don't know, right? I get the text from the Central Hudson and they're like, oh, you could get power back by 11:14 p.m. I'm like, well, it's 6 o'clock. Okay. And I go to pour water and I was like, I didn't refill my water carafes from my water filter that plugs into the wall. So now I cannot filter water. I mean, again, the most first world problems, right? Because we have people in the United States who don't even have
Yeah.
access to clean drinking water from their own tap, which is just, reason number million on the list of ridiculous, stupid things in this country. But I was like, you had the intuition of filling up in my mind. I was like, yeah, I would just like filter my water, fill up some jars and put them in my pantry. Why would I do that? That makes no sense. And then of course the power goes out and I was like, you would just be, whatever, you have water from your tap and that's fine. That's, it's water. But it just was really fascinating to think about that in terms of the preparedness of it all.
Yeah, that's the equivalent of me telling my nephew I'll get him an Uber to go to his driving test, not thinking it all the way through. Or like, you can't actually borrow someone's car to drive it.
Yeah, so
I have been, as usual, knowing that it's eclipse season, cursing the season, not wanting to look into details. It's making me super pessimistic. Everything that I'm
yeah.
seeing is like Pisces and Virgo, which is my sun and rising, as you know, is like, this is your year. This is amazing. And then it's also like, don't talk to a Pisces right now and like, don't do anything. So obviously, it's been putting my brain in overdrive and a little bit of paralyzation. Like, I'm not supposed to
Yeah.
be doing anything. I mean, it doesn't help that I got sick. I was in Florida a little bit, so I've been a little bit out of sorts. And so I have been in a place of like, I'm fine just doing nothing right now. But you had said before we hit record just about discomfort, and that's been coming up a lot for me too. I talked to my psychiatrist this morning. I feel like my morning has been started out just talking. Like, I don't feel like I'm crying all the time or anything like that, but I knew kind of like updating. So I'm crying. Then I had my annual review with my freelance company, and now we're having this conversation. So it's been like a lot of altering of emotions, but discomfort came up in the conversation with my psychiatrist. And then you had brought something up about that. And yeah, I think that theme came up. Tell me if this resonates with you or any of the themes going on in your life you had said discomfort and you get to choose. And
Yeah.
so that's where I've just been feeling a lot lately is the choices around the situations coming
Yeah.
up and also just grace as well. Again, what
Yeah.
up for you?
Yeah, no, I mean, the discomfort and the choices, the choices we have, that are made for us, that's been a big theme that I've just been that's just come up. I
Yeah.
wrote in my last newsletter, my last Substack, I was writing about it, about that exact theme, simply because it was coming up in two of the books that I read while I was on vacation. I read if Beale Street Could Talk by James Baldwin. And I read, what was the other book I read? The Wide Sargasso Sea by Jean Rhys. And I think they're just two totally different books that circle around this idea of our choices and choices that are taken away from us, choices that are made for us, and how do we respond to them, and and even the people and support in our lives, whether we have it or we don't, that also play a role in how we respond to the choices that are either taken or made for us or that we make ourselves. And I thought that was really interesting. Um, going back to the astrology, is Venus is in Aries now. Venus moved into Aries, I think today or yesterday, perhaps. It might be today, it might be yesterday, either way. That feels really like a dramatic shift because Venus was also in Pisces recently. Now Venus is in Aries, which is, the planet of love and pleasure and art is in the sign of bold and impulsive. And so it feels a lot for me. The discomfort conversation came because I was in a coaching session prior to this, and that was kind of one of the themes. And I was really, I don't know, I'm feeling the very Venus in Aries, which to me feels like in conversation, in relationships, in whatever that in your connections with people, I feel a little bit more, there's a shorter circuit between my thoughts and my filter or saying the things out loud when it's in Aries. And I feel a little bit more urgency to say the things, even though it may not be as tender as perhaps when Venus is in Pisces. It may not be as intuitive or sensitive or tender to the recipient, but I do think sometimes there's a time and a place for both. And I was really on this kind of feeling of, yeah, like you said, you get to choose your discomfort, right? Where we cannot ignore the fact that shit happens in your day-to-day life, that the world feels like and very much is just in what feels like utter chaos and more repeating the same patterns of our history, right? That circle around greed and power and really, really horrific things people do out of greed and power. And we all have our own lives going on as well and frustrations. And there's the Mercury retrograde of it all that can stall things or make things feel really confusing and frustrating. And there's the eclipse of it all that can really wipe us out. And so I think a lot about you're going to feel discomfort, you're going to be frustrated, things are going to happen regardless. So you get to choose what's the kind of, what do I want to do with that? How do I want to respond to it? Or I get to choose in some scenarios, do I have control over the type of discomfort? If I'm going to feel frustrated and uncomfortable either way, why not do the thing that challenges me in a way that I could learn something from, or I can gain wisdom from, or I can grow from,
Yeah.
versus just continuing to come up against the same problem over and over and expecting something different to occur or expecting someone to be different than where they are, than the way that they are. So a lot of that, it feels Venus and Aries feels really spicy, but also there's a lot of Pisces energy too, because we have, I think, the sun, Mars are all in Pisces. Pisces is the end of the zodiac. It's like it's a water sign. It's wisdom in Pisces, there's intuition, there's emotions. And then we're going and we have this Aries energy too, that is totally the opposite of what I think Pisces is. And so it feels in a lot of ways like perhaps like we're finishing something emotionally, and there's something on the horizon, but we don't see it, we don't know it. And it's a frustrating place to be, right? When you're like, I feel all this emotion and something is ending and I don't know what. And I know that I'm being pushed towards something new, but I don't have the full picture. So I'm even more frustrated. And that
Yeah.
is what the energy to me feels like.
This morning I saw a reel that was the difference between hope and patience, where she like it's really easy to have patience when you know the thing's coming. And it's more challenging to have hope because you also need patience with hope, but you don't necessarily know it's coming. Yeah, the thing I was thinking about with discomfort was the discernment of it all, which
Mhm.
think elaborates a little bit, piggybacks on what you were just saying. And for me, it's really that discernment of does there need to be this action item? Does there need to be, because that is dysregulated fight, flight, freeze. I know that's how it can come up for me is do the thing to make the discomfort go away because we don't
Mhm.
like that feeling. And yeah, this morning just talking with my psychiatrist a little bit about these are very normal
Yeah.
discomforts based on what's going on. And so I think circling back to that piece of all the things going on with the planets is I definitely know, and that's what's been challenging for me, is that all thing general theme is things just need to kind of fester right now. Like you're meant to kind of be all over the place for me because I'm wanting to do the things, take the action, keep going forward as well.
Yeah. I felt really like the last couple weeks felt, it's interesting because when I think about the astrology, right, it's usually in, you can know what's coming next, but I don't think the realizations really hit until after the fact or when you're already in it. Or I don't necessarily connect the day to day with what's going on until I'm in it or through it. And so I think about how the last couple weeks I've really needed to get into some escapism in terms of my reading. Like, for example, I've been reading a lot of classics this year starting, but in the last couple weeks, I was like, I just need some, like, I got wrapped up in some like fantasy, fae, gods kind of series and really absorbed in it. And I feel like that's always one of the indicators for me when things are starting to ramp up and feel really in flux, right? Nothing feels certain. And then I'm like, I reach for something tangible that I can do, that I can escape a little bit into while not fully escaping. And I've done the same thing with the way with writing, right? Like I started doing a little bit more consistency and routine around my Substack because I was like, I have to output. I have to have output. And I think it's been fascinating to do that and to create a little bit more of a cadence with my writing because the more that I do it, the realization, the big glaring realization has been like, you don't even have to be good at this if you enjoy what you're doing. And I've had this thought lately of that, of like, as I write, the more that I do it, the less I'm concerned with, is it good? In more of like, I'm just doing it. I enjoy this. I need something to put my thoughts into and my words into, and to have a space where I can practice my writing because I enjoy it and not worry about whether or not it's good. I just don't. It's like, it's that interesting connection between doing it more and then not caring as much about if it's good and then being pleasantly surprised when something feels really good.
Hmm.
And so that's been a really just a interesting observation to say the least of some of the things that have been going on. That's my extent of my astrology. There's a lot going on, but I didn't want to talk too much about it. It's just that it's really hard to disentangle the two because, listen to the current astrology or you listen to a reading and you're like, oh, you just read me like a book. This is exactly what's going on. This part of my life is being activated, my finances, my relationships, shared resources, work. All of these things are undergoing such a change, and it's all wrapped up in that feeling of I don't have a clear picture and I have no choice but to keep moving forward because everything is moving forward. You have to keep going and you don't
Yeah.
have the big picture. And so of course I want to escape into books and I want to write about it because I need to get it out in front of me so that I can see a little bit more objectively what's in my body, what I'm feeling, the nerves and the fears and the anxiety, along with the excitement. Like it's the process of both of those outlets, I think, that allow
Yeah.
me to, when you're escaping into something like a fantasy read, yeah, you get really into the books depending on the writer. You could argue that Sarah J. Maas, obviously, like I'm not really thinking about anything else. But a lot of these other fantasy books, like I can they're almost like when you put something on in the background and it allows your mind to just kind of go where it needs to go. And so that's been really just nice to reflect on.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I got out of the winter just in time. Well, when you were kind of talking about, it seems like a extending theme that you were talking about that discomfort and just like do different. And It's like literally the last couple of years I've known come late winter, early spring, just for my mental health. I
Hmm.
keep being like, you have to get out of here. And every year I just keep telling myself differently. And so I was able to manage a trip down to Florida and literally landed and was like, no, girl, you're sick. Like, whatever you were kind of feeling this morning. And so yeah, I think about even comparing it to the first time I got COVID, where I was on break over the holidays and I got COVID and I was so upset because I was just thinking, I really need this break. And now you're
Hmm.
sick and you can't really enjoy it. And not that I, in the moment, was able to hindsight that and make the connection between the two. And there was this piece where I did start to feel my body and my emotions going to the place of, all right, this wasn't just a headache, or you're not just sore from working out, you're sick. And I knew it would have been really easy to go to that place of all you wanted to do was come to Tampa and time with your friends, just get in the warmth and
Hmm.
feel fucking good. And it's not a cold, girl, you have like a legit fever.
Hmm.
And I was able to really quickly, which is where like there's that growth and it feels good, but it's just like this is not going to ruin my whole time down there. How can I best serve my needs right now? What will make me comfortable now? And like, was I super stoked to use hotel points to have to get a hotel? No, but it also goes back to that piece of what is best for me in this moment. And we've done this before. And like, going to try and ride out a fever and people pleasing and feeling bad, like you might get other people sick in the house. Like, no. So just being able to like make a different choice, go to the hotel,
Yeah.
assure my friends it wasn't because of them, really feeling it out. And as such, I feel like I got better faster. And also, it's that mindset of I was very conscious of, yeah, I didn't feel 100%, but with my friends down there, what I really enjoy doing is just hanging out with them and being in
Hmm.
their world. I'm alone so much that it really is just nice to sit and hang and be in the car with them as they're running errands. And so just reminding myself, you're not missing out on anything because you're sick
Yeah.
or anything you would be doing or doing differently. And I think that headspace is just a game changer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's it. It's like the recognizing where the work, with the results of doing the work, because that's, you just start to connect things quicker and you bounce back, right? There's more resilience. You can feel the discomfort, you can feel the fear, but you will show up anyways, or in whatever way that looks. Sometimes showing up for yourself looks like actually going and doing the thing, or sometimes it looks like surrender and trust, and all of those matter. And that's what I was thinking about. So I've had my period on the full moon for the last, I don't know, I think the last year. It's I've bled on the full moon, which, and during eclipse season, that means you're bleeding during a lunar eclipse. And aside from the quote unquote work, the inner growth, all of the things that you do that really, really support you in the challenging moments, that aspect of my cycle over the past year has been really eye-opening because it's just forced me to surrender in this time every single month. It's like clockwork. My body is like, oh yeah, you feel depleted. Oh yeah, it's a full moon, you can't sleep. Well, here's your period. It's going to be really intense and chaotic, and you can't do anything about it but just be where you are, right? Like you can't, and that's I think the beauty of the reflection on it is just that even if I wanted to do something different in those moments, or I wanted to fight against what's occurring, fight against the feelings that are coming up, my body was like, no, you're going to rest and you're going to be here. And I love that. I really It's like rather than trying to question or trying to, again, fight against things out of my control, I'm given this beautiful opportunity every month to learn to continue to surrender what I can't control and to not be in my feelings about the things that I can't control or the things that don't go your way. You're just like, you get to just continue to remind yourself this is part of human experience. And again, you can choose the discomfort of being like, I'm going to cry about my problem, all the things that are not going my way today, and I'm going to be uncomfortable, or I can just be uncomfortable and choose to see what else is there. And so much comes out of that. And so when the bigger things, right now in my life, I have a big chapter starting or has already started we bought an antique center, we bought a building on our main street here where we live. And with it, it's just been a lot of learning. It's like a new process with my
Learning, and it's
husband.
also, yeah, I was just going to say that learning and also a new experience in your partnership.
Yeah, and we've never done this type of thing together. There's a lot of things I don't know, a lot of things we don't know that he's been learning, that I'm learning in the process. And yeah, and it's like, um, I'm never quick to label things. I don't like to label, I can understand the difference between identifying an emotion, but I'm not the type of person that jumps to quickly label things as, oh, I'm so this, I'm feeling, whatever, when I am. And or, because I feel like once you say certain things, it feels so final, it feels so permanent, and my feelings move so quickly that I don't ever really like to attach to something because it's not the truth of what I'm feeling. And I know that so feels really abstract for some people because I find most people are really, really more comfortable in identifying with their emotions and being in them. And I'm not, and I don't know how to say this, but I feel like I move through emotions really quickly. And so when I say, this is really hard or whatever, it's true for a moment, but it's not true for that long for me. And so it doesn't feel true to say it out loud because I'm so aware of when people around me are like, oh, yeah, that is really hard. And then the next moment, I'm like, but I actually don't feel that way because I tend to just move through things really quickly. And that's how I operate, even when things are hard or easy or whatever it is. I'm like, okay, like, and to the next emotion, I felt it. We can move through this. The world isn't ending for me and it's such a, I don't know. I don't know anything. All I know is that it's fascinating to observe it in these bigger moments because this is a big chapter and there's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's kind of scary, but every time I say or feel fear, I'm immediately then confronted with the thought of, yeah, and also you're totally capable of it. There's this other truth that exists that's not bypassing the feelings. It's just like, yeah, and you've done difficult things before, may not have looked like this, but it doesn't mean that you're not capable of this. And so, again, I think one of the things I've been coming up against, even as I write, is that I feel like I don't have answers and then I do, where I'm
It's like
like,
feels very two line.
yeah, like I don't know anything. I don't know anything. And then all of a sudden, like you let yourself not know anything. And then you're like, oh, but I do know something. And I think maybe that's part of that earlier thing of choosing, of discerning, right? I can choose to fixate on not knowing and the frustration of not knowing anything, or I can choose to just be in the discomfort of like, yeah, I don't know anything. And guess what? I find out later when I do that, I do know something. And yeah, so that's been life lately. Antique business is going to be really fascinating. And recently, I told you before, but I was recently on a makeup job, and when I first spoke to this person, one of the things that they asked me were, oh, I see that you do a couple of different, like you do a few different things, and wanted to know more about my background in beauty kind of before hiring me, which is so fair. But in the moment, I was like kind of a little bit, I don't know if offended is too strong of a word, but my ego definitely was little like scratched a little bit in the moment because I was like, and yes, I do a lot of different things. And I'm still a
Mhm.
really great makeup artist, but I was like, I voice noted you in that moment. And I was like, just going through the whole process of it, of like, okay. I don't know where I was going with this, but just really fascinating.
Kind of circles back to that little that man Jen-ness of it all too, is a right? Like call it ego or whatever, but man Jen,
Yeah.
how they dabble in a lot of little different things, and this was just an example of potentially feeling and whether it was warranted or not, right? Because that's what we do. It's like our reactions or our
Mm.
responses are up to us. Is them wondering if there's that piece of when you're like, and because it's like, really, someone else, I have to
Yeah,
prove
yeah,
that I'm
yeah.
capable of doing all of the things super fucking well. Like I'm a man, Jen, don't you know that?
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah. And then being like, okay, and also it's fair for someone, right? Like it's fair for this person to wonder or be curious, and I don't have any clue what their real intentions were because I'm not them and I'm not in their body or mind. Again, like just bringing yourself back down to earth.
Mhm.
But it feels also really aligned with all of, again, like the astrology. There are systems crumbling. And I think when we think systems, we automatically assume, actual physical structures that exist. And that's true. But also it's the belief systems and it's the mindset, and it can happen collectively on a grand scale. It can happen in your own mind, in your own body, where when things are rumbling or changing, right? We had this like that big Saturn and Neptune transit that occurred a couple weeks ago. It's like when those things are happening, nothing is clear. It's just you're just trying to find your footing amid everything going on, and you're leaning on the work and the practices or whatever, but they're not a concrete safety net, right? Like you're still going to feel knocked off balance and you're still going to have to find your way, but it's just really interesting. And so
Yeah, part
that,
of it was really intentional for me to not only go down to Florida, but be around these specific
yeah.
friends because it, especially around my birthday, I
Hmm.
know this pattern theme for me is this like wanting people to do nice things. I like the acknowledgement, but then it's also this I get really angst and stressed about no, I don't want people to fuss over me or go out of their way or do the things. That's in general. I mean, there was just a meme I sent my friend who's also a Pisces, where it's like, would you rather ask for help or vacuum up all the dust in a desert? And it's like Pisces showing them vacuuming up all
Yeah,
the dust.
yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of like the theme. And just knowing the specific core group of friends, there were a couple of things going on. Is one, when I'm in Florida, I always reach out to specific people. And this time I really just kept it in close quarters because of my headspace and where I'm at. And it was a really beautiful energy for me to be in because I accept kindness from them. I feel safe with
Mm,
them.
mm.
And the flip side of that is that I also feel safe to voice my opinions. Like I ended up
Yeah,
staying a couple of days later, and it just worked out easier for everyone's schedules and what they had going on that I got another hotel and just stayed in Tampa, and it was just easier.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then you have the friends who are like, no, you're not getting a hotel. And to be like, no, this is what I want to do. I'm
Yeah.
excited about it. If I couldn't do it, I wouldn't do it. And yeah, it was a really good space for me to be in just these easy friendships where I can, again, I think that was the theme coming up energetically during that time if we're thinking about astrology too.
Yeah.
And so very intentionally throwing myself in space.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and also back to decisions, your decisions or free will and how we deal with discomfort, right? It's like I could be in discomfort and choose to be in my own space alone or whatever it is, right? And more of the known. Like I know the way that birthdays are, right? I know that what comes up around this time of year and I could stay in that, or I could choose to be in my discomfort and surround myself with the environments and the choice people who allow me, who make me feel safe to make the choices that are right for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
it was a really beautiful birthday. It just I think being in that environment and letting yourself in just the work around it. And I mean I've even said this to you. I don't get angst about how old I am. It's
mhm,
not
mhm,
that. And so it's just another opportunity. I think milestones do tend to elevate emotions, feelings,
totally.
right? And so it was just another opportunity to do that. And I'd be interested to you know how sometimes I have dreams. Well, I talk in my sleep and then I have
Hmm.
wild dreams. I had another one of those, which was I think a mixture of Thorn of Glass series because
Uh-huh.
that's what I was reading before I went to bed. I think it was just this. It was quite funny because for our listeners who don't know, I mean, I've been known to have such vivid dreams. I will wake up screaming or whatever. So I'm at one of my friends' houses and it was like this witch and she's just slowly coming. And in my dream, I know I'm like trying to scream and I can't scream. But what it resulted in is the witch got close to my bed in my dream but I went to kick her away, and it just so happened my phone and the charger were right there, so it like flew in the air. And it's just this wild energy. And then I yelled out loud, I'm like, it's just a dream, I'm fine. And then I just start laughing because I'm like, no one's here to be worried about you. Then I started, I don't know, it was like a whole thing, but I chalked it up to the energy of just like really wild dreams.
Yeah, that's so funny. You do, Jer. You have a active sleep subconscious, which makes sense, Pisces.
We were going to, we forgot to do it, but my best friend in Florida's husband has a lot of equipment, and we were gonna ha put the microphone on when I slept the next night. We forgot. And then I was thinking, like, maybe in hindsight, that might be embarrassing if it's who knows what else I say in my sleep. But yeah, just wild energies. And I'm super stoked that starting to get lighter out earlier. I can just feel that spring energy coming.
That's exactly how I feel too. I was thinking, the last 2 days, the birds have been singing, and the birds don't necessarily, it's not that they're like all going south because we have a lot of birds by us and all through the winter, but they're not singing out, they're not out, they're in the trees and stuff. But they've been singing every day lately, and it's just those moments where, like, I'm the type of person that I really, even though I just said like I move through emotions quickly, I feel them instantly. I mean, I'm an open emotional center, so I feel a lot of things, but I just love to, like, when I hear birds singing, I'm like, a stupid shit grin on my face, and I feel it in my stomach where I'm just like, yes, like this is right. This is so right. And I feel so happy in that moment. Like it's so good. It's like the feeling I get when every single day my dogs do the same exact things and they make me laugh and smile so hard. Like it's like I won the lottery in that seconds or millisecond of moment where I'm just so happy. And I love it. It's the change of season is so real. I never really experienced that before, just the intensity of seasons. And I've been around a lot, crazy. I mean, I grew up in Alaska. I grew up, people are like, oh, you're so used to the cold. And that's really not how our bodies work, but I understand the sentiment that people say. But like, yeah, it's been really, really nice to see the change on the horizon because this season has just felt really dark. And yeah, I had a couple other topics like just to breeze through because I felt like I was coming in with like heavy, like chaotic
You know,
feelings.
I had one I was going to bring up. Let's see what years come up. But I also, when you were talking about getting into your fantasy books, I was like, I did a similar version, but
Yeah.
with me and one of my best friends had a day, and I was like, literally, can we just sit on the couch all day and watch Love Is Blind UK? And
Is there a
like
new
that,
season out?
no, but it made me think of you because I never watched it with the human design reader and all of the
Oh,
spleen.
you didn't watch that one. That's right.
No, and so I kept like during it, I found myself keep going to my best friend Kelly. I'm like that's not what I do. That's not how I use human design in my reading. But it was I meant to follow up with you because
I
you had
forgot
talked to
all
me
about
about
that,
that.
dude. Okay,
Yeah.
so Yeah, that season of UK. That is really funny. So for anyone listening, if you are living under a rock and don't know Love is Blind,
Yeah.
that's okay. You're not missing out on like the great classics or anything. But Love is Blind UK, right? There was a human design reader as one of the contestants on Love is Blind UK. And I don't know about you, but I felt like he almost like did a little bit of disparaging work against human design simply because, again, I don't want to
And edits and all the
and the
things.
edits, it's not, it's reality TV. There's so many variables, right? I think that for a person to go on reality TV and to really put their best foot forward and to give the best version of themselves, like one, that takes a lot. That takes a lot. Like there's so many things that have to occur for in order for that to happen. And I just don't. And so I have grace for people, because I couldn't do it. Like you're not going to see me go on, well, one, I don't have a reason to, maybe, and in my time of my life when I maybe had a reason to go, I'm really thankful that I never got a chance because it's the same reason why I'm so grateful to be a millennial, where our most embarrassing moments were thankfully wiped from MySpace and Facebook.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know.
But I do feel like as I was watching that particular season, that guy, that human design reader, the contestant on Love is Blind UK, I felt like it was one of those examples of people who get so wrapped up in a system that they don't see past it or they can't see it, right? They use it as a shield and an excuse. I am this way, I'm hardwired this way, and my chart says this. So therefore, I cannot veer off track. And there's no flexibility to like human design and astrology, even, they're not to limit you.
Yeah.
They're to give you the wording, the language, and the knowledge to understand yourself better so that you can be more free in what
Yeah.
you do, so that you can have more free will or wield your free will with more knowing and more self-trust and more understanding of yourself. And so I felt for him because I was like, you know what, this guy's totally going to. And the thing is that he was not paired, but he connected with a woman who was super strong-willed in her own right and very,
Yeah.
I felt like she was very sure of herself and very self-confident and very self-trusting and had very deep-rooted beliefs and
Well, that's where it really went like
yeah,
no bueno for me with the human design was we first of all, we get it, you're a splenic authority, which for those people who don't know the system that well, that is just your quick intuition. You just know something to be true. And
yeah,
there's no rhyme or reason. Taylor Gruey, who was on our episode, explains it as she had gotten this hit to move to California. Didn't make any
yeah,
sense. Moved to California. That's where she met Jenna Zoe. Now they work together, right? It's this whole thing as an example. And I just felt the way I couldn't imagine dating someone like that because it almost felt like Anu, I remember her name, Anu, was, I mean, that just feels unfair. It's almost like he's waiting for her to do something
yeah,
so that he can make a decision. And that felt pressure, unfair, and
super.
obviously, she was blindsided. I also, it's the favorite clip from the video when she's like, "You're a liar, liar, liar."
I forgot about this season when I was watching I was like voicing, I was like, I can't tell you everything, but like you just gotta watch it. And I don't F with Love is Blind US anymore, Like
Yeah.
I tried and I would fast forward and I would skip the whole like last 5 episodes until finally I was like, you know what? I just know like I'll try things. I don't care, but I know for me, and I've said this so many times, I just don't love I'm sorry, not American. I don't love reality TV from the States because it's too close to home. I can't watch these people make fools of themselves.
Yeah.
And just seeing what I have seen from the most recent season of Love is Blind in the States, I'm like, oh, no, 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 I'm not. Because all I saw were clips of that guy that was like, I usually date girls who do Pilates every day. And he's like, not even, I'm like, oh no.
Jeez.
But I did watch Love is Blind France. And because I voice noted you a million times because I can't watch it. a series and get into it without giving you updates. And I loved Love is Blind France. The funniest part, and I'm going to ruin it for people if they haven't watched it, is that, I mean, this is all public knowledge, but like,
Yeah.
I think one couple maybe stayed together. I think one couple of all the ones that matched, and there were a few that matched and went through the process, and then there were a few that got married and then weren't together. I think there is literally one couple, but I just, I have a real love for TV in other countries, or reality shows in other
Yeah.
countries because it gives you an interesting glimpse into other cultures. And I really appreciate that. And even though you can't necessarily say that like reality, I mean, you actually could. I was going to say that you can't really say reality TV is a great snapshot of a country, but when I think about United States reality television, it kind of is a snapshot into the fuckery of this country. And so if we're shamed about it, there's a reason.
Editing can only do so much, but
That's
I think
exactly it.
we've been talking about who's the one coming up lately, like Kyle Cook from Summer House, if you watch in the United States, where it's like no matter how they edit it, but that's how you behave every
That's you.
single summer.
You have it within you to do to, everybody has like
Like
your,
10 years, your show's been on 10 years,
I can't
right?
believe that show has been around for so long. I mean, it just can't, I've never watched it, obviously, but not
Yeah.
obviously, have never watched it, but I know of it through you. And when you said 10 years, I was like, first of all, I thought this was like, it came out last year. I thought it was a new show.
I
And
do think you can see nuances of different cultures and it might be a very broad stroke. And I think
yeah, it doesn't represent every person, but it is a good snapshot of
not that
the
I'm like so
culture.
global, but I have worked in global positions before and different cultures. And, so I would say I wouldn't, in my interactions with those different cultures, I wouldn't be like, no, that's definitely not accurate
Yeah,
from,
yeah, I'm not the
yeah, yeah,
expert. But I think what made me bring that up was because I really loved Love is Blind France. I think because the overall sentiment of a lot of people, one, there were some things that I noticed. One is that I thought that the women were really they knew what they wanted and they weren't really interested in settling. Like they may experiment and go for the ride of like, let's experience because I want to get wrapped up in the romance and this in the love story. And also, just because I'm wrapped up in the romance of it doesn't mean I have to commit to this because if it's not working, it's not working. And they were very ready to move on from the person if it wasn't working. But they were also really open to the ride of the romance. And so I felt like from a cultural impression was that this particular in France, it was like less about the outcome. Yes, they're there for love, but they were like more about in the moment. Let's just be romantic. Let's, daydream and all of these things and let's, be in it and be present and also not lie to ourselves that if it's not working, it's not working. And I appreciated that too. I'm sick of women trying to make it work with people who it ain't working, like and so I really, really loved that season. I wasn't even bringing up I didn't have Love is Blind on my list, but
on your bingo
obviously
card
I
for
can
conversation
always go
today.
there. I did. I mean, the only US reality TV that I like that's not a cooking show is Drag Race, which is like it occupies when there's more than one Drag Race season going on, that's all I can think about.
I know. I still need to start that one. I send you. I mean, now that Hannah from Giggly Squad is a fan, that's what I sent you. She just got into it. So I need to start one of those series.
One, RuPaul is mother, truly.
Yeah.
And also two, there's again, like I think you've sent me this clip, but the truth is there is really just in the same way that Black American culture influences so much of everything, whether it's music, just, entertainment and just so much of
Yeah,
our
we'd be doing it a
culture.
disservice if we
Yeah,
pigeonholed it into categories, all
but
things. Yeah.
at the same for me goes for drag and LGBTQ culture, but specifically for me, drag, because that's what I know. It's what I absorb myself in and I love so much. And there's just so much in it. One, I love anything that is centered around laughter and comedy and people not taking themselves so seriously, but also taking their craft very seriously. That's something I can really get behind. And that's what drag is for me. It's like so take their craft so seriously because they are artists and they are so much more than that, but also not taking themselves seriously. And it's funny and there's so many moments where it feels like real healing is occurring. And I don't know, there's so much in Drag Race that if people don't watch it, I'm like, you're missing out on a real critical part of the zeitgeist and in the world. But speaking of laughing, okay, the last things that I had listed on my just like shit that came up for me this week that we didn't get a chance to talk about. One was Catherine O'Hara winning the posthumous
Oh.
award, an acting award for the studio, which is a really freaking funny show too. But I just was thinking about all of the comedians and female comedians. Like, there's a lot of different aspects of that craft and you can see this trickle out in different industries as the world changes I don't want to say we're losing, but who are the real funny physical comedians and the women? Like, I think of Kristen Wiig is a great example of someone who's just freaking her body language, everything about her oozes comedy and entertainment in a way that these greats like Catherine O'Hara and like Lucille Ball. It's not drag, but there's elements of drag because so many of those icons are also drag icons. And so I love this world.
You're becoming a persona. I hate to use the word character, but you're always becoming a persona,
Yeah.
which is,
Well, it is a character. It's a character in the sense
yeah,
that and that's where it comes back to that taking your craft so seriously to understand a character and to know, relating it back to drag, and also to Keith brought up improv recently because they were talking about it at school, and so much of drag can also play into improv, which is also acting, right? It's like that
yeah,
ability to be really freaking smart. You have to know cultural references. You have to know your history in a sense, and you have to just be smart. You have to be funny. You have to be quick. And I love that. It's like one of my favorite things, and it's what I wish that in another life I could do. So that was one of the things. I had nowhere to go with it other than I wanted to
yeah.
mention it. I also recently learned about an AI actor, and it freaked me the fuck out. Have you heard of this actor? Her name, I don't know if I can call it's an AI actor, Tilly Norwood. And I didn't spend much time on this because it just like freaked me out too much, but she's literally an actor in AI creation. And the person that created her talks about that this is another form of art. Fair, fine. Who am I? I'm not one to judge what is and isn't art. God knows I'm the least qualified person. But then I went to this AI actor, Tilly Norwood's Instagram, because of course she has an Instagram. What AI isn't on Instagram now?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
freaking
yeah.
terrifying. And it's like she was kind of trolling other actors who made comments. And I'm like, this is really a weird twilight zone we are in right now. And again, back to everything, the astrology of it all, the chaos and unknown of it all. It's just every era is a unique era to be alive, but I would argue that this might be one of the wackiest eras to be alive. And I'm grateful for the breath in my lungs. And I'm also like in a bit of a constant state of what the hell is happening.
Yeah. Nothing made me feel it's that kind of stuff. And I hate to say it like this, but nothing made me feel more like, no offense to the country bumpkins out there, but kind of like country bumpkin or like so old. Like, what the fuck is that? That there is an Amazon distribution center close to where one of my best friends in Florida lives in Apollo Beach.
Hmm.
And now there are drone planes that come to her neighborhood that drop off packages.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Not for
And
me.
she's
I'm
like,
sorry.
wait,
I'm just
there's
not into
one.
it.
I mean, she said when her mom was visiting, her mom couldn't take it. Her mom almost had a meltdown. She was freaking out. But it was a little wild. Do you know what it felt like? It felt like, is it WandaVision?
Yeah, maybe. I didn't watch it, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch it either, but just that the neighborhood and just like the things that don't belong, that's the kind of felt it gave me. Yeah, anyways, all of this stuff, the innovation and the technology, it's like, I don't know, verdict's out if I'm here for it or not, but it is kind of freaking me
Yeah.
out a little bit.
I think that for a person, speaking for myself, for someone who tends to move fast on things, and I appreciate that, this part of the world is moving way faster than I personally feel prepared for. And I think that the implications we will see just as quickly, and it will be probably, it already is very alarming, the implications of this way that yeah, I don't know. I was really into the HBO show Westworld. Like, I loved Westworld, and I think that if anybody listening has watched it, it's really freaky. Okay, but you know me, I'm not going to go out and out myself as a total conspiracy theorist, but I mean, I am an educated skeptic, right? And I'm not a stranger to things. And that's why I love and I really gorge myself on history, because if you pay attention to history, you aren't as alarmed when you see that it continually repeats itself. It's just a different place and a different players, but they're perpetuating the same patterns in the same way that we are in the shit that we're in and as a country, but also just in general. And the same way that when you go back and you watch these older films or these shows or you read books like 1984, you read them and you're like, they knew what was up. They knew, and you can maybe, if you err on the side of conspiracy, you might say that all of that Hollywood in general, that a lot of the things that we've seen over the years, even as kids, right? I remember like Total Recall when I was a kid with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, these things are not wildly far off.
Yeah, like the nails, they could just put a pin on your nail and it changed all the color. Now they
Yeah. Oh my
can't
God. That was
do
like my
that,
dream.
but we're
Yeah.
very close to that with
I was
how nails is now.
No, we are, because you know what? I was in California. I was at the Museum of Natural Sciences in California, and it was an event in San Francisco, and they had a girl with a machine where you picked on a screen what you wanted, and then you would put your hand in there and it would give you the design on your nails. And so, like I said, if you err on the side of conspiracy on some ways, or you're somewhat skeptical of things, or you connect the dots or are a pattern finder, if that's something that you do naturally or you're curious about, it's like, yeah, you might feel like we've been desensitized to a lot of the things, right, over time, because people knew they existed, that this was real, that the things we're seeing now. So it's real freaky, but I'm just going to tell you the very last thing on my list, and then I don't have anything else to talk about. I do, but I don't, is Lily Allen doing her she's been started her tour. Lily Allen has been touring.
I just saw the receipt picture, which I
That's
think
what
is
it was on my list, was the receipts, was the that she unraveled in this piece of silk with all the receipts of shit he bought other women. And I was like, this is what the kind of thing I want to see, right? Like, I'm here for the absolute nonsense of it and the absolute, like, you don't
zero
get
fucks
to
of
get
it.
off on this, sorry. And then I keep seeing him, her ex-husband, in like previews for some show or movie that he's in that is oddly enough kind of circling around similar themes. I mean, obviously, every time I see it, I hit the not interested, dismiss, dismiss, don't care about whatever you're promoting. But I thought that was so badass of her.
She's so badass. For those of you who don't know and might be listening, she wrote, I don't even want to be like it's a revenge album on her ex, but it just is an album of here's what you did. Here's
Yeah.
all the things you did, and here's my perspective of it. And so she is it on tour now? She wears a receipt that it's literally everything that her ex-husband bought other women during their
Yeah.
relationship.
It's like a
So
silk kind
good.
of, like, what do they call it when, like, it's not a gown, but it's like a silk train, and she just unravels it, and it's just like receipts. And I just thought that was so great. And going again, I'm gonna say it again, and I sound like a broken record, but the whole idea of discomfort, when this album blew up, she was doing interviews and talking about how, like, yeah, it was really uncomfortable. This is this happened in my real life. It was really uncomfortable. And also I had to get to a point where it needed to come out of me. And
Yeah.
then I can't even imagine being her, right? And listen, like, no, is she probably an angel and did everything right in her life? No. I don't really care. None of that matters. She married a person and then after the commitment was told he's actually not into the commitment, right? Like, no, you were lied to at the end of the day, and your past experiences aren't playing into this. And so I can't imagine what it's like to not only be the person that this happens to be in her shoes, but also then to not only make art out of it, but to like go on tour and relive it every single day that you perform and continue to make your pain and your suffering into art, your discomfort into art, into entertainment, and to process it in that way. Like back to that, you're discerning, am I going to be in the discomfort and hide behind the shame of what other people's decisions that they made for me, right? Like my choice, my decision was to be in a committed relationship. Your decision was to lie and to do really whatever you did, crazy shit. I'm not going to judge how people live their sex lives, but yeah, like, am I going to do what people expect of me to do, which is to just suffer in silence and to move on with my life? Or am I going to choose to process the discomfort and feel it in a different way where actually I could grow from this because I'm learning to be not only like I'm more resilient, I'm bouncing back from this. Yes, I'm not bypassing all the shit I went through, but I made this freaking album. I'm making
Yeah.
money. I'm entertaining people. People can resonate with my story and they feel seen and they can relate. And the music itself is good. Like it's a good
Yeah.
album,
I'm here for
period.
it all the time. I think that if you look back traditionally, especially in the US, men have been able to shame and talk about their partners in public since I've been around, and that seems fine. And in fact, women tend to get canceled after that. And I
Yeah.
think it's now, right? And you can even see with Taylor Swift, instead of hey, what are these men's behavior in this relationship? It turns into the narrative against the woman of,
Yeah.
ooh, be careful, don't date her. She puts everything on blast. And that's what I love about these types of artists, where I have a place in this story too. And I get to share, because like you said, it's that suffering in silence, that the shame that could come up in that. And while not everybody chooses to put it out there and on blast, these are musicians. And I
Yeah.
can't understand because I'm not a songwriter, but from all of the docu-series and biographies that I watch about musicians, it's like my favorite thing to do. Writers, it's got to come out of them. And you had kind of said that before. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm here for it. I love her.
I love that. What else? Anything else? I feel like I talked a lot, but we haven't caught up in a minute and we thought, why not just
Yeah,
hit
just connect.
record?
Yeah, just connect. No, I've just been very just trying to be present and as always letting the things just come up and unfold. And so it was nice to just have a little bit of time to reflect as we were talking. If it might make sense. What if we just like the last week, what's been like a pit and a peak of the week?
Mm,
And I don't know, anything on the radar that you're looking forward to coming up?
yeah. Well, peak of the week I so far, today's Friday, and honestly, it's been closing this chapter of the long drawn out process of buying a new business and buying a building and realizing, again, or not again, because I didn't say this, but I do think it's just these moments. I have a one of the notes in my phone in my notes app is just says, show me how good it can get. And when these things come up, I make a note in there, no matter what it is. It could be something so simple. Oh, somebody bought me a coffee, or I'm realizing a dream I never realized was actually capable or was within reach, right? Like I didn't grow up thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna get married, or let's rephrase that. I used to think, right, as naive as, when you're young and there's so much possibility of like, oh yeah, I'm going to have this and I'm going to have this. But then become an adult and those things that you thought maybe as a kid, right, when all the possibility and you haven't experienced life, those things you're faced with harsh realities as an adult where you're like, no, I stopped dreaming of these things because I'm not a kid anymore and the world is real. And so what having bigger dreams that feel really out of reach. And for whatever reasons, I always find myself coming back to in relationships, I am able to realize these dreams that I didn't even know I had. It's not that I didn't know I had them. I didn't let myself fully visualize what it could be because I didn't want to set myself up to be like, nope, that's not for you. And so thinking about things like getting, like having a relationship where we are like buying a house, buying another commercial real estate. I would never, those are not things that I was like thinking about. I was just trying to like work and do the thing, right? Trying to just live your life, right? As a millennial in a crazy, messed up world where most people I know, most people our age, not most, but like depending on where you live, are not buying houses. They're not buying property unless you're in a certain category or you're in, like, and I had a lot of chips on my shoulder about what was right for me based on what I was given or what I grew up with, right? Like I had a lot of chips on my shoulder. And so I think the peak is really getting to experience these things, live a bigger life, and that I get to be scared about it and excited, but that I get to, and I don't have to settle for smallness and I don't have to settle for just what I can see in front of me and what I can capable based on my own beliefs. And that's really, yeah, it's really been, I don't know if I can say what it is because I'm still feeling it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
still
yeah.
very present. I don't know. I'm hesitant to say a pit because every potential pit of the week I've come through on the other side. Like it wasn't
So
that big of a deal.
let's not focus our time on a pit.
Yeah.
Moving forward, peak of what's been going on lately, and then maybe like something coming up that you're looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to getting into the building and cleaning and all of the next adventure of honestly, I'm really looking forward to going back to this type of routine where I have to leave the house to go to work a couple of days a week, which I haven't had in a long time. It seems so simple, but like I forgot that I missed the social aspect of going into a place of work for so many years now because for so long I didn't want that. I was like, I'm sick of this. I don't want to answer anyone's questions. I don't want to be the decision maker on all this stuff. And, after some time, you can't stay in one space for too long. And now I'm like, oh yeah, actually, I do miss it. I miss just going to a place of work. I'm gonna miss my dogs every day, having like the comfort of being with them all the time. But that is something I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, and you also don't have that commute into the city. You've got a couple blocks either walk or drive down to where you'll be going to. So that's beautiful. And your dogs are close.
I know. And yeah, so what about you?
I would say my peak, well, I'll give two just because I feel like I've been so ho-hum lately that it's great for me to think of two. I mean, obviously, just spending time with my friends down in Florida, it's just being able to be so present and so grateful, and not only so grateful for my friends' companionship of literally just having fun doing nothing and being comfortable in silence and just exactly who you are, but also with their families because I've known their respective partners for a very long time and their kids. And so that's just really beautiful. I got my Latvian dual citizenship
No?
approved.
My gosh, not Latvia, but Estonia. Is this the same region?
Yeah, it borders.
Yeah, I was just yesterday saw something come up about like how much do you need to live in certain places. And it was so funny. Estonia came up and I was like, of all the places, like I never hear that. And I don't know what I was doing that I didn't text you that or send it to you, but I knew that it was gonna come up in conversation. But I just thought that was really cool. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, so now we know how much it costs to live in Estonia.
Yeah. Well, and also
About the same
remember
states.
Melissa, astrocartographer, so location astrology. We did an episode on that. And remember, she kept saying for me, Estonia, like
Yeah.
Estonia, Estonia, which is so I don't know. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed about So I'm like, what does this mean for me? Of course, it's like, what do I have to do with it? But one, I think I wasn't expecting it. And I need to look back at the exact day that I got it because it'd be interesting too. Well, let me also tell you this, that the Mercury in retrograde of it all, because all of the transpondence is in Latvia, like the original documents. And so, uh, I got my original documents back. And so, as much as I can, like Google Translate, and as much as I could collect, the document literally was like, here are your original documents back. So then I was like getting in touch with the immigration lawyer, and it's like, but is there an answer? Am I a dual citizen or not? And then like these little things, I'm just prepared for during this time. He
Yeah.
responded back and he said, "Oh, they must have forgot to put your answer. Here's the correspondence." But I'm giggling. I'm like, yeah, of course those didn't get thrown in there. But yeah, that just felt really cool and exciting because it's just something that I've wanted to do for over a decade. And now that it's here, it feels really neat to, yeah, just have that heritage back in my family. And I don't really know what's going to come of it, but that was really exciting. And my mom had given me, it's really special for my birthday. It's from her grandmother, and it's this little wooden box made in Latvia. And you can see that my great grandmother had and drew her initials in the bottom of it. And then my mom also has with it, she sent, which was really cool, a picture. And it's the six people of the family. Two aunts were to come in the States. My mom, a baby, they're in the displaced persons camp. And this photo is of my mom, my grandparents, my three uncles, and there's a shelf in the back with some tchotchkes,
Mhm.
and this little box is in the background, like on that. So it feels really special.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. And then I think what I'm looking forward to coming up most is honestly just the spring. Even this morning, I take my time in the morning now. It doesn't matter if I'm getting up earlier or later, but just it's starting to get lighter out earlier is making me super happy. And because I know I'll be able to move my body more, and that was what was kind of tough when I was sick too, because I knew I'm like, you cannot be working out with a fever, and that's always hard for my mental health. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm also really looking forward to just our hangout time. I know I keep saying it, but I'm going to come see you and we can celebrate the antique center, and that I'm looking forward to because I feel like that'll be coming soon.
I know everything comes alive in spring, and I'm so ready for it.
Thanks for tuning in. If you resonate with today's conversation, connect with us on Instagram at Karmic Mirror Podcast and send us a message.
And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen. And if you're loving Karmic Mirror, we'd appreciate a glowing review or a share with someone who could benefit.
As we close, remember, life is not a one-size-fits-all approach. How are you honoring your unique path? Stay curious and always be kind to yourself. Until next time on Karmic Mirror.